Well, hello there. How are you folks today? This is the third video for chapter 2. And I've got to tell you, I think things are going along just right. Be sure to check your forums, test and measurements. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to explain the assignment that is given for chapter 2. If you have any questions, you could always ask me. Just a little bit on the therapies and then backing up to the diathesis stress model on page 34. Now, what this says, and this whole chapter is about this, the integrative approach and how various factors in our lives integrate by biological integration, cultural integration, social integration. I'm going to make this statement right now. I believe that we are going to find when we study the brain some more and additional findings is made as far as the brain is concerned, that we're going to see just as many individual characteristics in the brain as our physical characteristics are concerned, except we won't be able to observe the physical characteristics in the brain, at least in the traditional sense that we observe physical characteristics. Brains are different. Environments are different. So this is what we want to focus on. Part of your assignment, I'm going to give your assignment that's in assignments now when we get done with this. We're talking about the diathesis stress model, the long allele and the short allele, and how it can affect different behaviors. The three forces there, psychoanalytical, behaviorism, and humanism. We want to keep those three forces in mind because even though they didn't have all of the scientific knowledge that we have today, they still exemplify some important findings that can be traced to scanning the brain, seeing how the brain operates, and the intricacies of the brain, of the scientific world. Now, stated this before also, this is not a biology class. What we're looking for is the integration. Integration. Don't want to memorize all of the bones, all of the blood vessels, and so forth. That's not the purpose of this chapter. But we want to look at how these behaviors integrate and why we are different. Okay, going down through this now, I'm going to give you some pages there. It says, how does epigenetics work? That's on page 37. The biology of the brain and the nervous system and the role of serotonin. That's on page 49. And then we have a concept that is called learned helplessness on page 53. Well, if we can learn helplessness, actually learn helplessness, can we also learn optimism? And optimism, you may know, is a person that is upbeat and that everything is going to be okay. Anna O here on page 55, Anna O, along with Freud and Freud's partner, they worked with her. Anna O has an interesting story. She was watching and caring for her father, and the siblings were trading off. Anna O and her siblings were trading off. Well, on Anna O's watch, and Anna O wasn't her correct name, but that was a name that was given to her. And on her watch, her father passed away. And from this, she developed what was called a conversion disorder. And basically, a conversion disorder is strictly psychological. An individual may have a conversion disorder in their leg, that for some reason they're not able to move their leg or their hand or some other aspect of their body. This is a conversion disorder. Then the black box on page 55. And you can glance through that. Now, we have David Rosehand's experiment, being sane in insane places, and I want to talk about what your assignment is here for chapter 2. And it's number 1 is state the importance of Phineas Gage as discussed in video 2, chapter 2. Now, that was kind of the beginning of neurological science. You remember Phineas Gage, the railroad worker, and was tapping in the dynamite, and the dynamite exploded and shot that 43-inch iron rod through his left cheek out the top of his head. I don't know. I think it shot it for around 80 feet. It was quite some distance. I mean, it was just like a bullet. Okay, then we have Rosenhan. And number 2, it says the David L. Rosenhan being sane in insane places experiment was mentioned in video 2. I'm going to mention it now. What Rosenhan did, he had plants. Now, plants, I don't mean a green plant, but individuals go into various psychiatric wards complaining of concerns. Now, actually, they were just as normal as could be. But these individuals were admitted into the hospital. They were diagnosed as schizophrenic, and the individuals had different lengths of stay. Now, what is interesting, while they were in these psychiatric hospitals, the patients already in the hospital would tell the workers of the hospital, there's nothing wrong with those people. Why are they here? That's part of it. Now, you can go ahead and read up on David Rosenhan's study and get a little bit more detailed. Another part was another psychiatric hospital told Rosenhan, no way in the world could you fool us. And so the hospital basically challenged Rosenhan to send in plants by sending in different individuals that were normal. And this hospital stated, hey, we can tell the normal from the abnormal. So they went through the experiment, and I believe they had 80 patients. And at the end of the experiment, they signified to David Rosenhan which ones that he had sent that were normal and they were able to pick out. And so they wanted Rosenhan to tell them, well, okay, just what did you do? Well, the end of the study was this. Rosenhan did not send one individual, but still the hospital, the psychiatric hospital, was able to identify normal individuals supposedly sent by Rosenhan. Rosenhan did not send one individual. Okay, this is a brief overview of this. And number 3, it says from the text in the video, cite one instance of nurture interaction with nature and give the page number. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be anything lengthy, but just cite one place and briefly explain what took place and give the page number. This is what we're looking for. And actually, it's all the way through the chapter because they are trying to bring out the difference between integration, types of integration, and what it actually does to the individual and how it changes the individual. In one place, they state it could change the individual for centuries. Well, if you've ever heard of a person by the name of Carl Jung, he had what he called archetypes. And these archetypes were somewhat, even though they didn't really want to say inherited, but these archetypes were inherited characteristics of knowing the mother figure, the father figure, the hero figure, and it was just something that come naturally to us. Somewhat like a bird. A bird can fly. But birds do not go to flight school. They naturally know it. Somewhat the same with Carl Jung's archetype. We just wonder from generation to generation, who knows? We may have inherited material from 1500, from the year 1500. We may have. Maybe I'm speculating a little bit far, But, as long as we're speculating, let's make the best of it. It doesn't cost any more. So go through these three aspects and assignments and fill them out. Again, the importance of Phineas Gage's incident with the rod going through his head. Briefly describe that. Briefly describe the scenario on Rosenhan. You can go to Wikipedia. You can go wherever you want to go as far as information is concerned, telling the implications of this, and then from the text cite one instance of nature and nurture. We will see you on chapter 3. Until then, have a good day.